fees was put up to the students were just raising questions as to why should we pay fee. We are not in the campus. The campus is not made use of. We are at home. We just attend some classes online, and it's also we are paying for these online classes. Why should we pay? So these are the questions which come out from the students, and it's creating a lot of financial crunch to the institutions. Even especially in Kerala, student unions come out and raise up their voice asking why should we do this. And also, most of our education institutions have built up a lot in terms of their infrastructure. We have beautiful infrastructures in the campus. We have to maintain the campus, but now as an added financial burden, the infrastructures is to be built up in terms of the IT facilities, web facilities. Again, that is adding financial burden to the institutions. Again, the educational institutions have to adhere to the government protocols which are there. These are all certain threats, certain questions that is there in front of the education institutions on a whole. And when we talk about the online education, we have problems as faculty members, teachers who are into the teaching mode. They also face a lot of problems because they had been following a physical mode where students were there in the classrooms, were imparting education on a physical mode. It was a continuous system for years. Now they are asked to unlearn what they had learned. So that unlearning process, they had been skilled with the physical classrooms. Now they have to upskill or reskill what they have been doing for years. The evaluation system is another question. How do we evaluate these students? When the students are on the other end, what are the possible evaluation methods which we could be giving to the students? How do we motivate our faculty members? How do we keep the staff and the management and the administrative process together? This all becomes maybe a burden to the education institutions. At the same time, students from the student end, when we are here to impart the education to the students, maybe through a web platforms, the students have complaints. The fast streaming facilities are not there at home. The data content which they have is of very low capacity. This leads to issues with attendance. Students are not able to attend exams. Students are not able to give attendance in time. These are all keeping problems with regards to this remote learning environment systems. A lot of challenges to the students. Now the government or the time demands a lot of protocols for the colleges. Maybe to protect ourselves, once we reopen or otherwise, if the students have physically to come to the campus, they have to keep a lot of protocols. The protection of the students, the education facilities, the precautions are necessary. We have to avoid maybe the field trips, which was a very much of an enrichment to the students. College have to look into reducing sizes. Maybe if we have major programs with 60 students, we may not be able to hold a class with 16 size. We will have to shift. We will have to look forward to different shifts. We will have to look to maybe divide the week into different groups of students. A lot of challenges which are coming up. And students have to come wearing masks. Maybe they have to cover themselves as to protect themselves from this virus. A lot of protocols, maybe hand hygiene, all those things come up in the reception of students. So we have various protocols given. Now, when we keep up all these protocols, one very important thing is virus. Maybe a student who is coming from an area which is a pandemic area, which is a red zone, we cannot be discriminating our students. And those kind of discriminations, see, when we gather in a group, in a community, in a campus, we have to treat everybody equal. Now, suppose there is a student who comes from an area which is more prone into this pandemic virus, we cannot discriminate them. That discrimination might create a lot of mental torture to the students. We have to be vigilant. A lot of vigilance has to be seen from the part of the faculty members and the teachers and the management which is going to deal with the students. We have to look into the faculty well-being, student well-being. Maybe we'll have to think of a health administrator in the campus. We'll have to appoint somebody who takes care of the safety protocols, health hygiene. We'll have to be making the students aware of the social distancing, and maybe we'll have to look forward to somebody who takes care of the professional standard, a person like someone who takes care of the professional standard officer, someone who take care of all this. And also we have to take care of somebody to counsel the students, because the students, everyone at home at this young age, they have a lot of questions, a lot of anxieties in their life. Maybe when they look to the future, they have a lot of questions which is with them. There should be somebody to help them. So we cannot have a discriminative approach in all this. We have to be taking forward the education institution in its proper safety mode. For that, it demands a lot from the institution. And again, when we think of these anxieties, when we see this situation as a lot of raising a lot of problems, confusion among us, again, it could be seen as an opportunity. That is the way we should take it. It creates a lot of opportunities. It's an opportunity for cooperation. It's an opportunity for collaboration. It's an opportunity for coordination. Again, it's an opportunity for us to be organized. It's an opportunity for us to be opportunistic. And again, it's an opportunity to be vigilant, viable, and victorious. It's an opportunity to be interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent. And lastly, it's an opportunity to be diligent, disruptive, and digital. It's an opportunity for cooperation now itself. See, once this issue of this pandemic has raised up, a lot of educational platforms have come up in combination with the education institutions. WebEx or the Zoom, which we use now. So various platforms have come up, tying up with the educational institutions, and we are going forward. UGC, the ICT, the repository for students is built up. So there is a lot of support from all these bodies, which is going to help us. So it is an opportunity to cooperate. It's an opportunity to collaborate and coordinate. It's an opportunity to be organized. We have to make use of this present system, present surroundings, present problematic scenario into an opportunity. We are called up to embrace technology in our education. We have to look into a progressive system in education, and we have to bring in stability to the bottom line. So maybe if we take students in 2020 and we prepare them to face these challenges in a new mode of education, maybe in 2023, once they come out, there would be a bright era where it would be open for them in terms of their placements. Then it's an opportunity to be vigilant. We are dealing with data. We are dealing with a web technology, a remote technology. So our security is an issue where we have to be vigilant. Our financial content has to be properly managed. We have to be vigilant in terms of taking up the viable measures in terms of taking the institution forward. Maybe we will have to cut short a lot of unwanted expenses in the institution. We have to be very carefully managing the finance of the institution. And at the same time, we should see that we are victorious by taking our institutions to the goals and objectives which we have set for our institution. It's an opportunity to be interconnected, interrelated, interdependent. Now, education talks about various concepts of being available to society, available to student, being accessible to society, being acceptable, and being adaptable. All these 4 A's of education is going to be possible during this particular period, which is looking forward as a threat to us. And again, it's a period for us to be diligent, disruptive, and digital. There were times when we say either you communicate or perish. Sometimes we used to say in the campuses, you communicate in English or get perished. Now we will have to tell them, be disruptive, be digital. Otherwise, we will not be here as an education institution. And this mode has to be taken up by everyone. And we should think of a blended learning process. Once the campus reopened, we cannot be just going back to the physical mode of education in full. We will have to look into a blended education model where maybe partly we need sometime our students together with us, maybe in terms of the practicals. Ours is an institution with hotel management. We will have to run our practical classes. We'll have to run practical labs. So there should be a blended learning where maybe a portion of their syllabus is handed through the web mechanism, the digital mechanism, where there is a part of it being learned through this physical mode of education. So we should find out, we should be in a proper prudential way. We have to find out how this proper blend is to be built up in the educational institution. I conclude my area by saying that we should have a student teacher model, a learning teaching model, which is to be blended. If this model has to be successful, we have to raise up our physical infrastructure by adding more of IT infrastructure. Our teaching community our academic community has to upskill themselves, reskill themselves to take up the challenges of this web world. Our neighborhood, our surrounding, the society has to be more in connected nature. The student community has to come up as more inventors, more explorative. And sometimes when we talk to the students with regard to the present system of education, we have heard them saying they are really happy because we have a techno-savvy community here. They are happy because they are able to use the technology in learning. Now, their happiness in terms of using this technology in terms of their learning should be properly guided as inventors and people who are exploring. Our parents should not just remain as ATM machines. They should be partakers in education. They should be supporting the students being at home, and they also should support the educational institutions in terms of raising the funds and supporting them. And the management has to be a center of dissemination. It has to see that everything is made available to all these communities so that we have proper communities of education, proper institutions of education. We have proper way of this transformation accepted in the education system, so that we look forward to this opportunity which is created maybe by a pandemic, but we cannot lose ourselves because we have a generation with us. We have to take it up, whatever be the challenges, maybe financial, maybe academic, maybe our lack of IT infrastructure. We have to build up, because as academicians, we are building society. We are building our people. So let's take this challenge positively. Now, I remain for time being. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Paul, for your very informative session. The theme of the second session is reinventing modes of teaching learning process, with emphasis on models of academic evaluation, and that is redefining new ways of admission and placement procedures. I welcome Professor Dr. Jacob for the second session.
So once again, welcome to this session. In fact, we have been doing this session especially for all groups of people, be it management or faculty members or students or administrators. We have been doing this program, and I thank Father Paul for giving the introduction and what from a management perspective and even from the faculty perspective as to what to be expected. I will be concentrating on teaching learning methods which we need to have in the time of this pandemic. However, I would say that, as Father was mentioned, COVID was an opportunity. Now, what are the different types of teaching methods that we go through? I'm sure that all of you would have started creating videos, because this was brought as an opportunity, in fact, because we had to engage our students, and we took videos as the first one. And after that, we started off with webinars. When Zoom and WebEx and all those people have come across, we started with webinars. Then there are opportunities where we started using even television channels, online simulation games, online tuitions, and online even coaching, and all those things are likely to come in days to come. In fact, many of the institutions have been developing on the learning management system also. There have been a variety of apps which has been created and which has been made use of by several people. So I will be explaining on how we would take teaching learning methods further. Now, one of the first things that I tried was basically videos. And video, in fact, I did not know how to create a video, but I found that, that the best method for using video was actually PowerPoint from Microsoft. And it's available in all the versions like 365, the 2019, 16, 13, 2010. So this had an opportunity of actually recording video. But there some of my colleagues told me that video they do not have this version. So how do you work on? So again, I tried and I found that there was another software called a Screencast-O-Matic through which you could record videos. So Screencast-O-Matic would give you 15 minutes, and many of the faculty members were able to create videos through that. Now, the second problem was that many students complained that they do not have they do not have sufficient net facility, or for that matter, even the GB also was not as sufficient as it used to be. So what happened? So what we did was we started uploading those videos in YouTube. So anytime they could see these videos and they could refer back and they could learn from that multiple times. So that actually reduced that problem of especially the problem of actually data, as well as with the speed and all those things. Now, I'm sure all of you would be familiar with webinar, because right now we are able to do it with Google Meet and with several other webinars also being hosted through Blackboard or WebEx and several Zoom. Currently, we have Zoom and all those. So we can actually utilize webinar also. But the disadvantage of webinar is, suppose if you do not have a good net connectivity, possible webinar may, in fact, in the beginning also, we also had certain connection issues. So those issues can happen with webinar. Now, another opportunity which came to me was actually through television channels, especially through the EMMRC Calicut, which has asked me to create some videos and give it to them. And this was actually relayed through television also. So that in one way or the other, we have been actually giving support even to the government also by preparing videos and relaying it over television. Similarly, it is available in their channel of EMMRC, or we call it as the Swayamprabha channels also. It was available. And in both the channels, it is possible to create, you can create videos and send it across to them, and it would be shared across to the students also. What else can we do as far as learning or teaching is concerned? So we can have online simulation games also. There are various games which are available from different groups. In fact, there are games on venture creation, on entrepreneurship. We have even Soda Pop, which talks about operations management. Negotiation games are there, and even warehouse management also can be taught, by using simulation games. Of course, not for everyone. Maybe for higher PG classes, definitely simulation games should be there. Online simulation games are available, and we should make use of that. Then sometimes certain cases we may require actually one-to-one tuitions also required. So there are even softwares also available where you have like Univenture and all those software companies which offer actually online tuition. But this could be provided actually for the weak students and not for everyone, because it is not possible to do at a time. We can engage only one student. In fact, I would also tell you that now this year, Calicut University and many of the universities have been going on for online projects. Now, so there are a lot of opportunities available from Internshala, Unnat Bharat, where you will get even online projects, and students can do online projects and get engaged also. We have used all our students to see that they have getting in projects as well as internship from UBA and Internshala, and it has worked out to be good. Especially they do not waste time, and you will be able to keep them engaged throughout. As far as so there is no holiday for them. Either they are in classes or they do internship, and that is one method by which we could engage our students. There are different types of virtual platforms also, right from our simple WhatsApp to email to Screencastify to GSU to Google Classroom, and any of these platforms can be utilized. Only thing is it requires actually the faculty to be a little bit creative. If you are not creative, you may not find opportunities. But if you are creative, there are opportunities and innumerable opportunities available, and student and even faculty members should start using. And moreover, when you do this, you are actually giving training to your students also, because no longer they are not going to be working always from an offline aspect. They will have to go for virtual training programs. They will have to go for online classes and all those things. Even online work is also, or remote working is going to be the order of the day. So maybe this Google, as Father was mentioning, it was a great opportunity. There are a lot of virtual platforms, and we need to explore them. Some of them are paid, some of them are free, some of them give you free for some time, and after that it becomes paid. So I think our faculty members should be more creative and finding out. And the management should also look at what are the type of platforms available, at what cost it's available, also should also be identified by the managements to find out the best virtual learning platform. Apart from that, there are even a lot of courses also available from various organizations like Coursera. I'm sure EDX, Coursera, many of our faculty members definitely would have registered and would have been doing it right now. So this is again an opportunity to learn the courses from some of the best universities also. And maybe another thing that comes to my mind is that our syllabus may not be updated. So this pandemic period gives us an opportunity to give us actually better courses, other new courses, especially from premier institutions also. Let us make use of our MOOC massive open online courses also, which are available from India. From around 32 channels are already there on Swayamprabha, and I'm sure that you would recommend MOOC also to your students also, through which they can even write exams. Recently, there is a notification which has also come from UGC, which says that if a student takes actually a MOOC course and he completes it, he need not actually write those examinations. Of course, it is in the preliminary stages. You may be getting a circular on that from the UGC also. So suppose if a student does the same course which is there in the university where he is studying, in the MOOC, he has an option to get he can be relieved of taking that particular course also. Zoom, Google Education, all these are various tools that you should be using in days to come. Definitely you can have better engagement of students especially through online courses also. Now, there are also problems also. When we started off, students started complaining about internet connectivity, and it is bound to happen because the type of traffic which is happening is also very, very, very high reason, and our internet providers were not prepared for it. But now I think things are getting settled, and we have better interconnectivity these days. Question paper generation is also not easy. Recently, I was listening to QSAT. QSAT is conducting the final exam. QSAT is Cochin University of Science and Technology. They are conducting actually the final examinations. How do they do it? Every student is sent a question for 30 minutes to be answered in 30 minutes online. That means answering and uploading 30 minutes. And they say that this question cannot be found even if you search in Google. So as faculty members, we have to choose the best questions, a question which is not available in Google, and based on that, we have to prepare it. So I'm sure that you will be spending more time on even question paper generation. It is difficult, but still, once it comes through, I'm sure that your knowledge levels also go up, and it becomes in days to come, it will become easy also. Communicating to candidates is or to students has been quite difficult because many students may not check their email. So that is another issue. Security issues are also there. Some of your materials can be poached by others. So that also, but again, you can take measures by putting watermark and all those things to see that you are taking care of the security issues also. There are other issues also like adaptability struggle from offline to online, technical issues, computer literacy, time management. Again, to control time or to do it on time is again an issue. Motivation, it requires, earlier in the classes, teachers could motivate, but now the student has to decide that he has to be motivated. Faculty has to decide that they are motivated. Then the human connection is losing. Student motivation, as I've already mentioned, instructor ignorance as far as skills are concerned. It is important that teachers need to understand that they have to come out from ignorance. They should come to light. We are actually faculty members or teachers are supposed to come from ignorance to light. That is what we say. But now it requires urgency also. Okay, and the informal nature of the class also, it's difficult. So again, there are issues, but I would say that if you can become a little bit creative, you will be able to manage even those issues also. Now, what are the different types of assessments that you could do or online evaluations that you could do? The simplest one all of you would have been doing is online quizzes, which can be done through Google Forms, which is available. And I'm sure if you can just open it up and start working on that, you will be able to work on online quizzes. But if your college has got an LMS system, request for quiz also online, very easy to do that. Then what are the other things available? Online assignments. Students can write assignments, scan it, available in their mobile with the CAM scanner, upload it to the faculty, and faculty can verify that it's online. Then another one can be used as actually online discussions. You can start actually a chat on a topic, and you can even measure it also. I'll come to the measuring in the next slide. Then other one is like open book examinations, which I've already told you. Cochin University of Science and Technology is giving an open book examination. Only thing is the type of questions that you need to plan for such on open book examination should be very planned. You shouldn't students should not be able to get it from the Google or from any other search engine. Then plagiarism tools can be used right now. The same thing that we use for our PhD evaluations. Plagiarism tools can be used to find out what is the plagiarism content in that, and based on that you can do your evaluation. Then so on another one that we do is actually online peer-based evaluations. We give topics to our students, ask them to create videos and put it across in social media, and ask students to rate them. Based on that, you can create, you can even create rubrics also on your score as well as student score, and based on that you can do evaluation. So evaluation is also possible, and it's quite meaningful also. And I'm sure that the type of evaluation that we were doing earlier, and as compared to this online, I would rate actually online to be better, because it makes it to be more sensible also. So I already told you there are different types of quiz that you can have. You can have fill in the blanks, you can have match the following, you can have even multiple choice question. You can give a passage and ask them to type it out, like a chat. And then if once quiz is over, you can even give them a certificate. That will create actually motivation. As I've told you, one of the difficulty in engaging students is likely self-motivation has to be there. If it is not there, you can give actually, you can tell them that if they pass 50% marks above, immediately certificates will be provided. So that is another option. So you can utilize Google Forms, the ideal one. There are other different links also available. You can make use of these quiz. Just type online quiz, as well as some of them are even paid ones are also available. Okay, now I come to actually the type of evaluation also. The type of written assignments, when they said the best thing evaluation could be a plagiarism software like Turnitin. With it, you can get actually the answers. Now, Turnitin is like expensive. So I'm sure that, when Father Azin talks about getting softwares, he will address that question also. Now, as I have already told you, online discussions can be there. The faculty can send in a topic, and you can ask your class, to initiate a class discussion through chatting. It doesn't take actually much of data. As a result, you will be able to identify whether the student has understood the concept or not. You can use forums tools, wiki tool, today's meet, different types of tools are available for online discussion, and utilize actually rubrics also. Start rubrics in the sense faculty can give an evaluation, student can give an evaluation, peer can give an evaluation. So based on that, rubrics can be formulated and you can evaluate that. As I've already told you, presentations, make students to create presentations, video presentations, send it across, and peer feedback can be taken. And based on that, you can give marks you can assess that. Test quiz, I've already told you, it is built in. Usually most of the questions, once you give an answer, immediately the student gets the result as soon as he completes it. So that is also possible. Then the last one, is face-to-face proctor test also. Now, there are new softwares which are coming up, which actually replaces the traditional invigilations also. For example, I will be sharing that also proctored by the last point, PSI services, Mercer Metal, ProctorU, Examity, Verificent. All these are actually proctoring tools through which when a student starts writing the examination, based on the movement of their eyeball, or based on the movement of their, or maybe if they talk in a whisper, all these things are caught by the camera using artificial intelligence. And as soon as he does that, marks are reduced then and there. My dear faculty members, it is a better tool. Students cannot turn, they have to write it. And if you have Turnitin installed, naturally, whatever they try to copy it from Google, that is immediately the plagiarism check also can be done. So, but again, that is not easy to do it right now. It's quite an expensive one. But I would suggest actually all the colleges should start going for LMS. Learning management system is required. Maybe paid versions are available, free versions are available. However, it is up to you to decide what is there based on your financial plans. And again, change actually your closed book examinations to open book examination. Draft very good questions. Make the concept relevant. Give them case studies. Let them start working on it. Maybe you can write your own case studies and give it across to students to understand the concept. So let us become more creative. So with that, in fact, we would come to this. Before that, let me also tell you that suppose if you're using actually pen and paper, this is only a caution other than online. Suppose if your college has got a pen and paper evaluation method, I would also tell you that there are certain formalities that you need to do. So if you're using pen and paper, you can scan the answer scripts, that the first one, transfer that or upload that to the respective faculty, upload it, and then ask your examiners. You can actually assign it to different examiners also. So that is, they can examine it twice, one or twice or thrice. Different types of evaluation can be done. Then this is downloaded by the faculty, given marks, and then this also can be the mark can be received from the different faculty members also. So that is another method that is there, and I'm sure that university, in a sense, proctoring tools are not available currently, or it is being expensive. Now the university would definitely, most of the universities will go for digital evaluation, so that you need not touch actually the papers. You can directly do it from your system. So that is very easy. Anybody can do it. Even in LMS also, we do the same type of evaluations also. Now, what is the type of can I go back? What is the type of admissions that we have? That is something that we need to talk about. Admissions. Okay. Admission, again, we have to see that our admissions are becoming online, transparent. In fact, many of the universities and colleges have started going for online admissions also. So that is one of them. But when you do online admissions, there are certain things that you need to do. Your college should have an excellent branding. Okay, so we have to reach every student, every faculty through digital branding. And I'm sure that there are enough and more tools available as far as branding is concerned. Right from our Facebook onwards to Twitter to any of these can be used for branding. So online admissions, branding is another one that you need to start looking at. Deadlines. Maybe, if it's possible to extend deadlines, yes, give deadlines so that, more students get opportunity. If at all you want to give fee waivers, you can start giving test scholarship also to find out the best candidate and give them. And this is online, there is always a problem of communication. So wherever you communicate, see to it that you are clearly communicating whatever is that you want to communicate. Otherwise, can be confusions. Even in offline also there are confusion, but since there is a face-to-face interaction, it is actually better. But now, since it is online, the communication has to be clear. So whatever you write, whatever you post, all those things should be very clear and should never be discriminating. Whenever a student reads it, they should be able to understand. So whatever communication that you're posting online, read it twice, thrice, check for whether any issues are there, and based on that, work it out, and definitely improve the learning experience also. Let me also tell you that even if the admissions are getting delayed, please do not keep your prospective candidates on hold. Engage them. Start giving them small sessions. Engage with them. Give them training programs. Prepare them to face this, because COVID is not going to be out, immediately. It is going to be there, and sometimes we will have to live with it, for maybe 1 year or more than that. So let us try to give an improved learning experience even for our students also. So with that, definitely admissions would be good. And those students who are getting admissions this year are likely to get the best placements also. So that is what I would like to share with you, because these students who are getting into the colleges are going to get the type of training programs which are required for the industry, especially in the pandemic period. And we are going to give them different types of training programs so that they can work offline or online. And what are the types of jobs which are available post-COVID? You'll find that some of them are digital payments, cloud computing, content writing, healthcare, cybersecurity, then e-commerce, online education, insurance, logistics, robotics, business analyst. All those are going to be the jobs of the future. And definitely, you have to prepare your students. If the particular course is not there in your university syllabus, you have to include it from the certification program. And there are certain skills also that you need to prepare your students: emotional intelligence, courage of conviction, adaptability, risk management and cost prudence, technology, creativity and innovation, data literacy, critical thinking, lifelong learning and leadership. These are all the skills that you need to send it across to your students, and that the teaching and training should be clubbed together. So then we move on to the next slide. Your learning experience that the students are going to get should be a blended learning, where you have face-to-face training programs or classes. You will have virtual classrooms also, so that they get associated with different types of tools, electronic tools that you use. We may use webinars. We start sending them links across. We may upload videos in YouTube or in other type of platform and start sending links, and they will have to see those links again and again. We will be using simulations. I've already mentioned entrepreneur or operations. You have different types of simulations that you would be giving, mostly online, and then we will be using online assessments as well as offline assessments, as well as one-on-one coaching also, to see that they are staying motivated. So this is what I have to talk to you as from the side of learning, as well as teaching, as well as learning. And I hope you have got a lot of information from this. Please try it out. Let the faculty come out from a inertia to a creative person. That is what is expected from all of us, to especially in pandemic times, post-COVID, in COVID times as well as post-COVID also. Thank you very much. I move on to I move out, and Father Varghese Hassan will address you on especially with the regarding management issues also. Thank you very much for a patient listening.
So the next session is by Reverend Father Varghese Hassan Thaiparambil.
Thank you, Ms. Nayana Rajesh.
So he'll be speaking on how to plan and develop diligent and prudent financial measures, and how education institutions can improvise their social and community programs during this period of crisis. So over to you, Father.
Thank you, Ms. Nayana Rajesh, Assistant Professor, Naivadya Business School, for introducing me. And once again, welcoming you all with us for this very interesting and very hot topic of the day, of the season, maybe. So I should start from this blended learning platform. We now realize this is going to be a new scenario where we are going to work. We are going to offer our service to the primarily students community. So in which, what shall be our strategy? So as a management perspective, when I look into the fact, we are under some crisis, which can be defined maybe as a crisis of competency, on the other hand, a crisis on financial management. But we cannot escape. We cannot run away from the reality. We need to address it. How can we do it? As of now, we may identify two major strategies in place: sustenance strategy and sustainability strategy. When we talk about sustenance strategy, initially, primarily, we look into cost cutting. For example, recently, Salesforce and Deloitte has conducted a survey, a study on post-COVID times in the management and business scenario, in which they propose three frameworks. One is about responding to the current scenario. Second one, recover. Third one, thrive. In the sustenance strategy, our platform is to address this scenario, responding to this scenario. So in which we may identify cost cutting is the best one. So recently I have come across an article. It's an online article done by Harvard University by Ranjan Gulati. He was proposing cost cutting is not the one measure. The study tells that the performing organization who applied cost cutting in the Great Recession 2009 did not perform much after. So cost cutting cannot be considered as a best measure to address the reality. So now, out of these two strategies, we will just go through few. How does it work in our scenario? So if you look at this slide, we may see deficit. One title, another one, pause. The next slide will talk about spending, where we have to spend. The third one, we spoke about diligence spending. So in the deficit, we identified fees. Primarily, in the following slide, we will discuss about three models, financial models. But in the deficit, we have a very foreseen downfall in the fee collection, as well enrollment drop, as well external research funding may get short, endowments may fall, alumni or NGO contribution may go down, conferences, we may not get fund for the conferences. So a lot of things may happen in that side. On the other hand, we need to look into pause. Where shall we pause our spending? In the responding mechanism, in the sustenance strategy. Recently we heard IIT Chennai, they have made a cap on all spending in the construction, physical infrastructure. Similarly, this is a scenario where we want to look for next level of migration or blending, in which faculty hiring, do we need this number of faculty to be maintained for future if the situation changes? Then scholarships and endowment student support scheme, will we able to, looking at the perspective of a management, will we able to support the students as we did earlier? Next one, we have to be very prudent as well, very keen in spending on non-essential commodities. So first of all, these are the area where we need to look into. On the other hand, what is happening in this scenario? In the post-COVID scenario, our primary concern is focusing, shifting towards health and hygiene, one side. Other side, digital or cyber or IT infrastructure. We cannot stop. In the same article, as I mentioned earlier, Harvard University published, they're telling, if you stop spending on some domain which are key for your existence, you will not survive. You have to continue spending on such. So in the IT infrastructure, recently the university has recommended all the affiliated colleges to go for media rooms, media centers. Definitely, I believe all of you who are the part of this session may be finding that learning management system. We had Google Classroom, we had Moodle, but now we are in the real need for go with LMS. We can't stop that spending on LMS, even website, video live streaming. So a lot of things are that we have to spend continuously. We cannot stop, but be prudent and diligent. That's what we speak in the next. Pay for performance scheme may be the one effective method. Faculty, staff, ratio according to government requirements. We need to see on that. Cap on allowances, if needed, on acute necessity, furlough, sabbatical year. Because as an organization, faculty is the asset, not the infrastructure. They are the assets. If you are selling our assets, if you are not able to retain the capable and competent faculty members, we are going to suffer in the market. We cannot be industry leader after. So technically, we have to be very keen. Training for industry people. Online conferences, online training programs. So we need to incorporate, as mentioned the previous speakers, we need to be digital. Identify non-traditional revenue centers. Will it workable? Apart from our fee, we will discuss in the following slides. Do we have any source of income to be identified? Now, finally, the interesting slogan of the COVID times in India, Atmanirbhar. We may be fascinated to hear from our Honorable Prime Minister, Atmanirbhar. But when we look back, what Gandhiji spoke, Gram Swaraj, self-reliant, no other way to sustain. This Atmanirbhar has got a deviating, a tricky factor. When they talk about Atmanirbhar, you find your source of income to spend. They may not, they may be we may be helpless. I mean, government or state administration may tell to the organization, find out your ways to survive. That going to happen. Education industry is shifting to a next level of administration management. So I'm just concluding this sustenance strategy for spending. This can be in a via model. This can be a balanced mechanism to be implemented. But on the other hand, in order to survive, I mentioned earlier, one is the competency of the faculty, other one financial fitness of the organization. When we look in the next, we will describe about 3 financial models. First one, traditional financial model, which was basically and primarily centered on infrastructure. We used to see a lot of brochures and prospectus, very colored, beautiful, dynamics, very vibrant scenes. When we look in detail, we may not find it. But even though we go with that kind of projections, but it was infrastructure centered, what the facilities it is offered. But eventually, that scene has changed. That comes to an advanced financial model. We may say it has started after 2009, after the financial opening by the Central Ministry, Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao. So we found this has reflected in across all the domains of our life, including our education system, accreditations, quality assurance, monitoring systems was in place. UGC, in this line, UGC, NAC, AICT, a lot of organizations, PCI, MCA, a lot of organizations in place to see whether you are offering a quality education. So in which the focus was students, it's student-centered. So they wanted to make sure that students are performing well and getting enough staff according to the framework they have set. There was a time, but now as we are in the COVID time, we need to see, is it sufficient? So there is a paradigm shift is happening. Now it is moving to a skill set centered, not about students alone, but about faculty. I just mentioned only 2 stakeholders, students and faculty. But it's more than that. The management has to be dynamic and vibrant. So it is basically skill set centered, in which what skills you want. Primarily, I will give an example right now. The previous speaker, Dr. Jacob, our director of Naibana Business School, he created the poster for our webinar. He was the man behind this webinar. Finally, he started to create a poster. He is not a graphic designer. He is an academician, basically. But, that's the way skill set. Lot of, I think it is mentioned there, like skill set. What skill set your organization is able to offer to your students? That makes you an industry leader. So in the third financial hybrid model, we need to identify 2 major players: partnership with industry, then partnership with sister or similar education organization. Industry, I will give an example. How can you make a partnership with industry as a revenue model? So that, for example, I will tell you BPO. Whether your institution is able to do a service for an industry which is related to your domain, for example, computer science department, if there is a language department, if there is a management department, some sort of service can be offered together with industry. Then partnership with the sister or similar education institutions. When you purchase a software, a module, how can you share with to reduce the cost, but to reach the most, to the more? So if it is a strategy aligned, so we will make a rough tour around this traditional model. In the traditional model, it is infrastructure, payroll, salary, the major expenditure, then the library spending, physical library, then overheads, maintenance, that was expenditure part. In the income part, we may see student fee, auxiliary services, canteen, maybe bus services, hostel, maybe your uniform, maybe many other businesses in that head. Then PTWA, external funds, donations, free deposits. That was the model which was in use. But in the advanced financial model, you may see student fee, auxiliary fee, one more, that is add-on. Whether your organization is able to generate some fund with your available resources through offering the service to students. That's PWA as usual. But the expenditure part, you will understand the 50% is for payroll, 25% for maybe infrastructure. That is going to be changed in the hybrid model. That's you just see that. Income. Industry partnership is a major source of income. Add-ons. That's addition. Industry partnership is a major source of it. That is add-on revenue. If you are facing a challenge on financials, you have to find out a source. Not a cost reduction is alone the resolution. But on the other hand, you have to find out, that is in the hybrid model. You have to find out a source of income which is fitting to your nature. Industry partnership, BPO, ORG, many comes in that line. You can very well work out what is applicable and effective in your domain. Then what's the expenditure part? When you look at the expenditure, the payroll should be reduced to 38 from 50, as we found in the earlier, in which your expenditure should come in training and development, then IT infrastructure. These are the other two key areas which is going to consume your revenue. But that has to be spent. Otherwise, your expense is under question, stake. So these are the mechanisms you need to identify and work out in the hybrid financial model. No other way you can survive. So in this situation, in the management perspective, what shall be done? We are trying to chalk out two: competency of the faculty or the service providers. Second one, students connect. When you look at this slide, empowering teachers, we will tell upskill your teacher, faculty. We have a conservatism in our mind. Faculty inertia. We have a lot of idea, capability. We had been in the industry for long. Those things will not work. Then that has to be transformed through a mentoring process. And that is the hybrid solution in which digital transformation will take place, in which your creativity should be played. Your quality, I mentioned earlier, your skill set is to be identified and applied thoroughly. Only then you will be able to survive in the new mechanism. How are you able to engage yourself with the social media? With how can you make a 360-degree support from the area which you operate? You cannot be isolated in your domain alone. You have to be connected. Networking is very important. Technology is training. If you may not be familiar with the previous technology, we are in the stage, some people above 50, above 40, we may be digitally migrants, but we cannot stop. We have to equip with different technological mechanisms to update ourselves, to engage. I will give you an example. How can you engage your students? We are familiar with MCQ. Okay, that's well and good. Students are very willing enough to trouble us or to overtake us. They will do the MCQ with the support of the Google. The faculties can apply Socrates. There is a real-time quiz that can be done while I am doing the webinar. I can send some question, true and false, or optional, objective type to the student. Real time, they have to answer from their attending session. Another one, Kahoot. If you can send some questions in the Kahoot, they can log in from the students login and they can answer the question, the gamification, engaging the students. So a lot of mechanism is available in the platform right now. Am I open to this scenario? Or even still I go with the faculty inertia? That means our capability, our previous skill set? No, we have to dynamically change. So in which, these are the three major areas we have to focus for upskilling. Academics. That's true. You are all very good. We are all good in the area where we are in. But do we have a digital tools I mentioned earlier? Where is my status and presence in the digital world? Am I visible to the social media? My competencies, my capabilities, it is rated. Then multifaceted. Are you able to personal branding as a teacher? When you send an email, do you have your own signature? Do you have a very particular soft skills which demonstrative presentation, interactive leadership, any sorts of skills do I display in me? Display with our students? Then industry partnership. You have to be a channel to the industry relationship. You cannot be very keen about your strong area of academics. You have to be a channel. If some of your students are well performing and they are able to demonstrate their capability in coding or programming, will it be satisfied with that alone? Will it able to guide the students to relate to some industry which is close to me? So that is a trainer and mentor. The role is changing. So that is the way we need to upskill our faculty. So these are some examples. Interdisciplinary, where I just missed out to mention when we work out a hybrid financial model of industry partnership. If can we make a interdisciplinary approach? For example, if your organization is having a hotel management course and you have a trained and well-versed faculty, why can't you offer an additional course, a certification course by your own to the students who are participating in another programs? That is the revenue generation model. Innovative, be innovative. Incubate, I think we will discuss later. That's the first part, faculty upskilling. The next one, students connect. Let me ask you one question. How many of you could connect to the students different from your academic engagements? You may be very brilliant enough to connect with some competitions, keeping them in touch. But I will give one different example which is done by our management or our faculty fraternity. They have created a corpus fund from their pocket to support the weaker sections of our students, and the message is said to all the students. Corpus fund, COVID relief fund to our students. They distributed nearly 1 lakh. To support who are in need, they requested through the class teachers, is distributed. Why? That is a students connect. In which, now I am just giving one example. So just we will, short of time, we will run through fast. Cooperative or students cooperative society. There are few cooperative societies in place in other parts of India. So students community can entrepreneur skill. In the other one, incubation center. If there is a computer science department, why can't you operate a designing center, website designing center? Why can't you make our students to dynamically involve in new area? Engineering colleges may be very good in that case. Management or degree course colleges has to look into Friday market. Then another one, digital literacy, compulsory social work, not centralized social sponsor scheme. It's a compulsory social work adoption scheme. I will give one example. Each class, each batch in our college is adopting one NGO. They are becoming a part of, let's say, project management, internships. We have to, even if the schedule is going to change the morning and afternoon, maybe afternoon, how do you are going to engage your students? These internships can be given, maybe paid and non-paid, but it's a training given to them. Why can't you adopt an NGO or a social entrepreneurship for getting engaged? So another one, earn while you learn. So these are familiar terms with us, but try to get connected with students through various means. These are some examples. You can just go through. Friday market, online cooking classes, definitely peer-to-peer. Why can't your digitally literate students community to connect with the remote people who are inaccessible to the technology? Can you make, or technology or by geographically, can you make some effort in that side? These are another examples of online depression counseling, sustainable community projects. So these are some examples can be incorporated in your thought pattern. So finally, I'm going to conclude. These are the challenges we discussed in the previous sessions as well. This one is competency deficiency, upskilling. Second one, I would say power shift. Your role as a teacher, as an organization, educator is going to be changed. You have to redefine according to the new terms and conditions of the post-COVID era. Then you have to be accelerating in e-technology, then virtual presence. These are the main area we need to look into in the post-COVID scenario. Finally, how can we conclude? We wish to conclude as an educator or a faculty or an institution should be phygital, a blend of offline and online, physical presence and digital presence. Be phygital. That's a word we wish to use in this scenario. You cannot be only focused on our traditional model. You have to migrate to hybrid model. It's an unstoppable reality. I will conclude with one word, capability, spoken by Alvin Toffler in Future Shock. So, one more quote from Peter Drucker. He speaks, the greatest danger in the times of turbulence is not turbulence itself, but to act with yesterday's logic. I conclude the logic of yesterday is survival of the fittest, but we say the new era logic is survival of the quickest. Are you able to cope up with the new, trending and changing reality outside the area we work? Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you.
I request all the participants to post the questions in the chat box so that we can take up those. And already we have one question from Ms. Ranjitam D. And she has asked, how can we manage placements in this scenario? I think this question is to Dr. Jacob.
Sir, your question.
I request all the participants to post the questions in the chat box so that.
Yeah. Sir, your question.
And already we have one question from Ms. Ranjitam D. And she has asked, how can we manage placements in this scenario? I think this question is to Dr. Jacob.
Yeah, thank you, Nana, for giving me the question. Sir, one of the things that we have to start is day one onwards, we have to start planning for the placements. In the sense, start your students with internships. Tell them that they have to get engaged. As Father Varghese Asin was talking about the program as far as students are concerned, our classes should be limited from 8:30 to afternoon. And the afternoons, students should be sent for internships. There are a lot of internships available right now. Sir, one of the things that we have to start is day one onwards, we have to start planning for the placement. Yeah, so that is what we are looking at. Start your students with internships. Tell them that they have to get engaged. As Father Hello. Yeah, so that is internships, and then second semester onwards they can go for paid internships, and the third semester usually the companies come to the campus. So prepare them. Moreover, the second thing is start giving them certificate programs also. Let them be adapted to the new things that are going to happen in the industry. There are going to be innovative changes happening in the industry, and let us see to it, that our students are equipped for that.
Also, we have questions again, how do we manage without having physical classrooms? How do we manage with online classrooms alone?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Sir, hereafter, we cannot be engaging only offline classes. We need to have online. So that is what I mentioned. It should be a mix of actually blended learning, offline and online. The advantage is actually when you give your offline questions and you have you are able to face actually the students. That's good. So that is what I wanted actually. The part of your syllabus, for example, if you have got a 70-hour syllabus, that actually like 50% should be like offline, where you have regular interaction with the students, and the second part of it should be online. Because if you do not prepare them from online, they will not be able to work in an industry, because the days are going to be online even in the industry also. So once you give them online assignments, videos and all those things, they start working on that and they will be adapted. So this is actually a training for them, when you conduct online. So your classes in future will be like blended classrooms, not actually
offline or online alone. It should be blended, a mixture of both. And definitely they will. And these students are very good at actually using digital devices also. Only thing is maybe our elders, all of us will have to do better. Maybe so. I think they will be able to do it better, especially as far as for their jobs, as well as the placements, as well as the class. Is definitely going to equip them in days to come.
Again, we have a question from Kanwal Sachdeva. He has asked how to manage industrial training during this period of crisis.
Industrial training, as far as currently it is difficult because most of the companies are not allowing students to come to the campus. So, again, we have, I would say, our placement in charge, Ms. Naina, who is actually handling the session, has been getting a lot of internships from different colleges, different industries, and they have been asking either it is usually on to do with marketing, or maybe certain HR also. It is mostly a survey, and they even teach them on how to build up these contacts also. So in fact, there has been a lot of, in fact, there have been students who have been doing 2 internships, 3 internships during this particular season. Even though it is offline is difficult, but you can prepare them online. Another one is there are opportunities for even getting trained on simulators also. For example, there are companies like Bosch, which has got actually simulators also, especially for engineering colleges. There are those students can be trained on even simulators also. So that could be another method by which you can utilize it. However, again, there are limitations also with which we can operate. So definitely you will have to go a little bit of limitations, but still, do not just keep move away from them. Always see to it that your students are getting engaged. And now it is a time that you get actually a lot of response from the global side also. So let them get connected with the world. Interrelatedness should be something there with the students. They should get connected with the world, and they should find out as to what are the opportunities available in days to come.
Again, Ms. Anju Charian has a question, that is how to manage projects which can be conducted in a controlled environment like this. That is when students cannot go to the industry.
Yeah, in fact, if it is an engineering, of course, I don't have, I will not be able to answer that question. But but if it is from a management perspective, we are doing right now online projects where students collect actually feedback through online or through interview method through over telephones, and they get information and they record those information and use it for project. Maybe for engineering, I think Ms. Naina would be better in answering that question as to what could be done for projects.
Projects also engineering, I think that is even the labs of engineering colleges or the colleges could be used so as to that is they can develop models or they can develop their own projects. The students can be given projects from the college's side rather than moving into the industry, or certain industries might be having that is kind of requirements for doing the project. Colleges can take up those to their campus and ask the students to do from the campus. A few of the students can be brought into the campus, all the protocols being maintained, and the practicals can be done. That is what I feel. Otherwise, we don't have any, that is recently I came to know that certain engineering colleges are actually showing practicals online, but that I don't think any of the students will be getting the effectiveness of that. So better is to bring a few students, might be in batches, to the labs, and those students can be that is made to do the practicals as well as the projects inside the campus rather than sending them out to the industry. Thank you. And again, I think we have, there is a question from Mr. Munir, that is whether the economically backward students will be sidelined because of these online classes.
Of course, there is going to be a little bit of a digital divide also. That is where actually institutions, our education institutions should take up maybe, like through maybe through voluntary contributions and support from good, generous people. We should be able to gather funds. In fact, I'm very happy to say that Father Paul as well as Father Verghese has taken the initiative to create actually a corpus fund inside this college, and from the faculty and generous people have contributed, and we have been able to support some students. In fact, there are certain suicides also which has happened in this country. So Father was saying that these things should not happen, and wherever possible, let us try to get some digital device for them. Maybe we have to start, even there are many organizations also, even Madhurumi and several organizations have started collecting actually used phones. Maybe those things can be refurbished and, it can be utilized by some of our students and they would be able to do this. They also should, especially, the economically weak should not suffer. In fact, they also have to come to the limelight also. I understand there is a question by Asha Matthew on Friday market.
Jacob, sir, I would like to get in maybe for a short while. We had questions. We had questions on e-classrooms, practicals, internships, projects. Now, all this come up because we had been working through a physical platform till now. Now, we need to change our mindset. That is the basic thing that has to happen. We are compelled to work on an online mode, maybe a digital mode, where we have to change the mindset and take it up. So we have to find avenues in terms of the classroom effectiveness, in terms of the practicals. Now, see, last day when we were talking about practicals, we were waiting for the college to reopen. But even then, how can we do it practically, maybe in a digital mode? That has to be innovatively found out by every one of us. Each faculty has a responsibility to see a way out of this situation because we are caught in. So that will lead to more of innovations in terms of making our classes innovative. Maybe I would like to answer on this Friday market. It was a concept which was happening in the campus here, where our students were having an entrepreneurship club, and these students were asked to bring out their products which were created, through agriculture products or other products which they were having at home. They were asked to come. We appreciated them to bring it to the campus here, and we spent some time with some kind of auction, and students, faculty members, they would bring what is there at home, and the students were taking part, and it was like a business model. Students were conducting a market. Students themselves were auctioning it and taking home. They were into selling, they were into buying. It was a beautiful experience which we had. It was a practically successful model which we had in the campus effectively. But at this stage, when we think of a digital world, we have to think how far it's going to be practical until the students come back to the campus. Again, with regard to the digital divide, we experience the same in the campus. Some of our students continuously call us and say that we don't have the device. We don't have proper connectivity at home. We don't have even a place where we can see, suppose the teachers are asked to take classes from 8:30 to 1:30, 5 hours. If they continuously take on Google Meet or Zoom, they don't have proper connectivity with them. The data content is not there. How are we to do this? So that is where some of the people, some well-wishers, or even I have the examples of my own faculty members coming together to form a burst to support the students. So such initiatives have to come up to overcome this digital divide, which might be possible in the campuses, because there are a lot of students who are weak financially and so on. So that is where we were talking about a connectivity. We were talking about an interdependence. We were talking about a kind of an opportunistic method, where there is an opportunity, there is an occasion which has come up here, where everybody has to cooperate and build this situation so that we come out or make this situation an opportunity for us to go on. Suppose we have to go this way with this COVID for a long time, we have no other way than finding out this as an opportunity and go ahead. So that's where we become effective.
I think this would have answered the question of Dr. Asha Matthew also, because she had asked a question that is, whether we have explained this in terms of professional colleges and how can they manage classes in the Arts and Science College. I think, Father, you could answer better on that.
Excuse me. Put up that question.
The question is by Dr. Asha Matthew, whether this can be only implemented by professional colleges, how this can be implemented by the arts colleges.
See, I'm talking from an arts and science college. Most of the programs we have, except maybe hotel management, it has a professional nature. We have MBA here, but otherwise, most of the programs here are BCom or BA literature. We have computer science. Arts and science programs are run here, and we are trying to implement or we see we see it as an opportunity where we have to go digital, because we had been talking about ICT technology, technology implemented campus communication, ICT classrooms, all this we had been talking for years. Now there is an opportunity come up where we have to implement it. If we don't implement, either we implement it or we are not in the picture. It's a do or die situation where we have to take it up. There is no other way. So we have to build up opportunity. We have to see this as an opportunity and go ahead.
So I think it was a very, very fruitful session, as that is, we had so many participants from across India and across the globe. And we had three excellent speakers who gave very informative sessions to all of us, that is how to redefine our educational scenario beyond this COVID. And the feedback link has been put up in the chat box, as well as it will be sent to your email IDs. So please fill up the feedback as soon as you get it, so that we could send you the e-certificates into your mail IDs. We are feeling very grateful that all of you joined this session. This is our first webinar session from our college part to the to the other education institutions as well as outsiders. We had certain internal webinars we had. This is the first venture into an outside webinar. So we thank all the participants who joined us through Zoom as well as through our YouTube channel. Thank you all, and we expect more participation in the future webinars to come. It was really a joyful experience with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think we'll be stopping this event.